everybody, and welcome back. My name's Laura Scott. I'm the Sydney office lead and partner here in the Adaptivate office. And I'm joined today by Gadali's CEO and founder, Dustin McClung. Welcome, Dustin.
Thanks, Laura.
So, Dustin, in today's discussion, we're going to dive deeper into Gadali. Adaptivate and Gadali partner on a number of projects.
Yes.
And I'm excited to have you here to talk about some of the business challenges that you're facing, talk about some of the partnership insights that you've currently got, and how we collaborate and move forward.
Fantastic.
So let's start with a bit about you. Can you share some of the background on your heritage and how it came to influence your journey?
Yeah, sure. So originally came from around the Canberra region, which is Ngunnawal area. We're quite lucky in that a lot of our heritage is documented, which from Indigenous and First Nations, there's not a lot of documentation there. Have family which has come out from the UK, came out in Second Fleet. Okay. And then one of our great grandmothers is Nananya Mary, which also known as Burua Mary, and grew up around the Ngunnawal region. So my mother's side, her father's line came down through that heritage there, and we've been lucky enough to reconnect with our Indigenous families ever since then. And it's just been, I think, such a great thing, particularly for my kids. It gives them a real connection to country. And it's really helped us and sort of get a good understanding of where we come from, who we are, and things that we can do to help everyone that's around.
That's incredible. So Gadali. So where did Gadali come from?
Gadali, this was sort of born out of an idea. We were trying to work out the best way to come forward and which aligned with what we wanted to do. There is calling everything out. There was, or there still is, a little bit of an idea that Indigenous people or First Nations people get a lot of handouts. So we wanted to turn that around, and we're playing on the old proverb of give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime.
Love it.
So Gadali in Ngunnawal means to hunt. So we are out there trying to teach people how to hunt, how to actually make their careers and pathways and opportunities for themselves. And we're leveraging as much of the procurement policies and the social levers that are out there to help us actually achieve those goals.
Fantastic. And so with your background, can you explain a little bit about your background from a career perspective and how you're leveraging now the skills that you've got from your background with what Gadali do?
Yeah, for sure. So Gadali at its heart is a systems integrator IT consultancy company. What we're trying to do is partner with everyone that I've had contact with over many, many years. I had a long IT career in a multinational company, which gave me a really good grounding in a whole lot of different modalities. I started out as an electrical engineer, went into the telco, and then onto the multinational, and sort of went through infrastructure, applications, management, senior management, so on and so forth. So along that journey, you obviously meet a bunch of people. What we're doing is all of those relationships and everyone that I've met along the way that I trust and I know really well, I've been able to actually get in contact with them, explain what we're trying to do, and they're saying they're really on board and are aligning with our mission and vision, which when it comes down to it, if you're saying what is Gadali about, from an internal perspective, we want to bring as many First Nations people into the IT world. So it's a very underrepresented contingent of IT. So we want to make sure we try and bolster that as best we can.
Right.
So obviously, in also doing that, we need to make sure we provide a good customer experience though.
Right.
And because those people aren't out there, we've partnered with all of those companies that we know and trust really well to try and build up that actual human capital inside of Gadali.
Great. And look, I know Adaptivate and Gadali partner quite heavily together. We sit in the same office together, which is great to see the two teams working really closely as well, which is pretty powerful stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know you did talk a bit about the meaning behind Gadali, but from your business philosophy and long-term goals, what does it mean?
Where the long-term goal, and we know this is at bare minimum a 10-year investment in time. There's some short-term goals, which is really proving Gadali in those the metro areas, make sure we can get out there, get the name for ourselves, build up trust. Once we've built that trust, then we want to extend, get a little bit further out, get into some of the more regional areas. Right. And it's moving along a little quicker than I anticipated. We had that in years sort of 2 to 3. We're already starting to do that now, which is great.
That's great.
And then at the moment, the plan is around the years 5 to 7. We really want to start concentrating on the regional and remote regional or remote rural communities that are out there as well.
Okay.
If we can, there's a lot of training that goes into First Nations people, and it's come from, great companies that are out there, and it's all good intentions, but the career pathways don't exist.
Okay.
So if we can implement centres of excellence in these areas and keep people on country in their communities, then we can provide an opportunity for them to give back, because it'll be more of a quasi-franchise model. They will keep profits within the community and manage themselves to a degree, and we'll look after all of that back office governance and everything that does make starting a business in those areas difficult. We'll do that from a head office perspective.
Okay, and what do those hubs look like? Like what actually would happen in one?
It could be anything. We're really leveraging, and part of the reason we're doing this now and why we think this is going to work really well is because of the advancements in AI and how that's been going. As you're well aware, we've got a good partnership with Adaptivate, and we're doing some great stuff with AI, and particularly with New South Wales Department of Planning and Housing. We want to continue that, expand that a bit more. That you can get into quite technical roles in IT now without huge technical experience. Right. The models that exist, I mean, I haven't done much coding since ChatGPT came out, and all of the other models that are out there as well, because you can just ask them to do it and they will give it back to you. You still have to understand it. So what we're looking for is critical thinkers and passionate people.
Great.
If you've got those two particular, I'd say ingredients, not the right word for it, but
capabilities
is a better one, then we think that's we can train someone to be able to be in a technical role. And that's coming from, there could be help desk stuff which is available out there. It could be low code, no code developers. We do want to start to target, and this is probably a little bit further out again, target a lot of the offshoring which has happened in the past and bring that back onshore.
Oh, great.
I do feel there's a good appetite for that in certain sectors that are out there, and we're having some discussions with these sectors now, so it's a lot further advanced than what we anticipated, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get that off the ground when we're in partnership with government organisations as well as the corporations.
That's really great to see that we're actually reversing and bringing the work back to Australia. So partnerships are essential to businesses, which we know. Have you found companies that share and align with Gadali's mission and values? So absolutely Adaptivate, but what else are you seeing? Who else are you partnering with that align to your values?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's been really heartening. Everyone I'm talking to has come on board with what we're trying to achieve, particularly down the path of, as I said, the human capital doesn't exist. It's not a vocation of choice for First Nations people. They generally, there's a lot of legal services and social services vocations that people take up, but IT and technical roles has not been one. The actual percentage increase of First Nations people is going up at a very high rate, but it's off a very low base.
Okay.
So we still need to increase that even exponentially. So it's been a bit tricky to try and work out how we're going to get that expertise.
Okay.
So everyone we're partnering with, we're saying, okay, we'll go in, we're trying to offer our story up to corporates and to government departments, explain what we're trying to do. And we're leveraging some of the good work that's been done out there by companies, by organisations like Supply Nation. And they've come back and said that every dollar spent with an Indigenous business is worth $4.41 from a social economic value perspective. So when you've got figures like that out there, it can make a lot of sense for companies to start to invest in Indigenous businesses. So we're going, okay, well, if you invest in us, we still need to give you a good solution.
Mm-hmm.
The only way we can do that is by partnering with these subject matter experts.
Great.
We bring those companies in to what we're trying to achieve,
Mm-hmm.
make sure they're aligned with our goals and values, and can provide a safe cultural space. Then when we actually implement the solution, we're utilising their skill set to mentor or trainee, or ideally apprenticeships we want to get into as well, and actually bring people and train them up. Because our internal goal is really about bolstering that Indigenous First Nations IT segment, if someone was to train someone up on the job,
mm-hmm.
they would have come in and go, okay, that person, they're actually really good. I want to keep them. They can keep them.
Great.
Because we just want to keep moving people through.
Okay, fantastic.
So, and everyone's buying this story. They believe in it. It's very much, it's a win. We want to make all of these partnerships win-win-win for everybody along the way. So, and by doing it, going down that path and allowing these companies to actually take the skill set if they find that it's valuable to them, that also means that, you know, if something happens and that person moves on, we've still got a good relationship with them.
Yep.
They're part of the alumni. We want to bring them back into the fold. We'll find something else for them.
And rewarding for them as well too.
Absolutely,
yeah. Great.
Yeah.
That's great. Every business has its hurdles, as we know. What challenges are you encountering at the moment in working towards your goals?
Yeah, so there are significant challenges out there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the I say smaller ones, but the ones which I think we can overcome in the short term,
mm-hmm.
and we're working towards now, just that choice of vocation from a First Nations person to not go down, you know, they just don't choose technology. So we've been doing a lot of BD work over the last year, and we've been trying to really push that. We're getting out to events. I'm off to another event next Tuesday.
And are you speaking directly to them?
Yes, yeah. So we'll have a stand at this, the ACS Foundation run a big day in at UTS in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have a table down there, and we'll be talking to students there, Year 11, Year 12 students.
Right.
It's about 650 on the day.
Oh, wow.
We'll have a good chat to them, explain what we do and how we're going about it, hoping obviously that there'll be some First Nations students there as well,
mm-hmm.
And try and engage them. So that's probably just getting people to be engaged and involved and see that as an opportunity. That's one of the really big struggles, but it is turning around. And then of course there's the obvious side of, why would someone want to employ an Indigenous business? And what's the point of it? I think, to me, and this might just be my glass half full scenario, it really feels like it has turned around and people are much more welcome and open to doing that than even, I would say, 10 years ago.
Yeah, true.
It's the opportunities, like I said, everyone's been very willing to align and partner with us. We haven't had anyone go, oh no, I don't really believe in that. So that's a good part, and that's why I think it just turning it around at that younger stage, the high school students, the new graduates, people doing TAFE courses, you know, any sort of things. We've spoken to the Institute of Applied Technology, we've spoken to all the universities, we're talking to UNSW Business School. We've got all of these connections which are going on. The groundwork's feeling very, very positive.
It does. It seems like there's way more awareness now than there was 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Dustin, with these events that you're attending, when you have Indigenous people come up to you, really interested in a career in IT, what are the next steps that you would take them through, and what can they look forward to?
Yeah, good question. I think, well, what we're looking at doing and what we're putting in place right now is we're getting partnerships with people like the Microsoft, Cisco's, Juniper, Logic Monitor, a lot of technical companies that are out there, and they're providing us a whole bunch of training resources, particularly from the AI side. Microsoft's been very forthcoming with helping us. We're organising mentoring days, one-on-one mentoring days with some of the AI staff that are here. So depending on the skill set of the person, if it's someone that's just come out and they just go, yeah, I really want to look at IT, we would look at facilitating some training for them about how they could get into it. And so that can be some free training. All the companies are very, very keen to get people engaged. So I can definitely push them down that track. And then that might sort of work out where they want to end up. And as I mentioned, we're partnering with a lot of the other Indigenous firms that are out there. There's some great IT Indigenous firms. There's a bit of overlap, but some of them are very specialised in what they do. And if it's something that we don't offer, but they do, I could then do some introductions and we could move down that path. And we're already discussing that internally against a whole bunch of these companies. If they come along, they've got some training, they've got the passion, they've got the drive, we would bring them in, look at getting them engaged on one of the projects that we're currently running. And if there's some work there, if there's not, we'll see what they want to do. Again, we will look for a response or an opportunity in the market that we can start to drive down that approach if we've got a partner that can help train them. And so once we've found that opportunity, we would engage a subject matter expert that would come in, deliver, so the customer gets a good solution. The trainee would come in and they would work with that subject matter expert and get on the job training, real world on the job training, not sitting in a lab doing X, Y, and Z. You're actually seeing the full implementation of it from go to woe.
That's great.
And that's part of the solution, and that's what part of people, when they engage with Gadali, that's what they know, that they're the value add that they're getting. And then, as I mentioned, that might be that they then go down the path of they really like working with that subject matter expert, so they might stick with them. They might want to broaden their horizons, go into other parts of an IT field, in which case we'll bring them back, we try other projects. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and there's, as I mentioned, I think we're at a really good time where we can offer some great trainee mentorship and build everything up from the ground up.
That's fantastic. So on that, are there any prerequisites of skill or capability that you need from an Indigenous person coming to you?
It's more the passion and the critical thinking side. A lot of having some technical ability is always going to help. We don't expect people to be able to come along and code in a certain language or anything along those lines. If you have the passion's the main thing, because we need to be able to get these solutions across, and on the job training, we can do that pretty much from any technical viewpoint.
That's fantastic. Great. So Dustin, beyond your own business, are there any other big industry challenges that you're seeing in the area?
Yeah, there is. And it's interesting, I did a bit of a round table down at the New South Wales ICC, the Indigenous Chamber of Commerce, it's a little while ago now, but it was more for anyone that doesn't know, there are procurement policies that government adhere to and have to abide by. Some of those include things whereby it's a bit of a leg up scenario. If it's a contract value, in some scenarios it's like 250,000. If it's below that, the government department can go directly to an Indigenous business. They don't have to go directly fully out to tender. So it can actually shorten the time to getting a solution in for them. So we're trying to educate people going down that path. But the issue that we saw at this round table was that someone from New South Wales Treasury was there, and he'd come in and said they're looking at actually expanding that to the for $500,000 or $1 million, and they're trying to push that value up.
Shame.
The funny thing was, everyone there disagreed that should increase, which you would think would be great because it could bring more business in. But even with the values that are there, we're seeing this black cladding, which is starting to come onto the scene. And that's causing a lot of issues where, we're getting companies spring up that are trying to leverage these procurement policies and these levers that are put in place to help community and mob. They're actually turning it around to make personal profits out of it.
Okay, so I want to dig into black cladding. So thanks for bringing it up. Can you please define what black cladding is specifically for an Indigenous business and the whole procurement process that you spoke about?
Yeah, sure. It's very similar to what we have seen and we're still seeing in the environmental business from the greenwashing side of things. If you think of it like that, it's trying to circumvent or exploit these processes and policies that have been put in place. So what we're seeing is people coming up with a company calling an Indigenous company and just having someone that they put in a position of significance within that company,
Okay.
and then saying that they're an Indigenous business.
Okay. Would they be saying that there would be, like, is there a certain percentage of Indigenous team that you need to have?
Yeah, it's a good point. So the way that it's generally accepted at the moment, Supply Nation is really one of the main sources of saying who is an Indigenous business.
Okay.
And they have a very rigorous testing process that you go through, and you have to provide all the paperwork associated with it and documents that are in there. And it really works on the basis of the company has to be at least 51% owned and managed by an Indigenous person.
Okay.
And once you clarify past that, you can go into a Supply Nation registered sort of certification.
Okay.
And then once you've done a certain amount of transactions within your business, you can then go into a Supply Nation certified business. And that gives some comfort to the company that's dealing with you that you've been checked, it's been assessed, you are an actual Indigenous business.
Okay.
As much as these tests are very rigorous, they're still tests, they're still legislated as far as what they require, and there's always some way that someone can get around them. So that's a tricky part, and I know it's something that Supply Nation take very, very seriously, and they do come back and they do reassess companies if anyone brings them up as being a potentially a false front.
Right.
Because the whole point of doing it is so they can, like I said, those leg ups that you can get through the procurement policies, companies will exploit that, just bring the business in. They say that they're doing it. The company which is, or even government department that might have employed them, they're utilising that as part of their spend towards an Indigenous business to hit, for want of a better word, their quotas that is required.
Okay. Are you still seeing it a lot in the market?
You still do. I think you're not going to ever stamp that out.
Okay.
It's just, it exists. There are people which are going to exploit things for their own good. That's the nature of the world that we're in. It's the same as the whole, racism and prejudices. They're still going to exist, no matter how bad it looks or how wrong people know that they are. You're not going to get rid of it. But I still believe bringing it out to the forefront, talking about it, having open discussion is the best way. Trying to say you can't talk about these things, it just sweeps it under the carpet. It doesn't change anyone's opinion.
Yeah.
So love having the discussions about it, all of those arguments, all of that, the racism, the prejudices and everything, and just try and inform people.
Absolutely.
Because education's definitely the way forward.
Yeah, which is great to have companies like Gadali out there as well talking about it.
Thank
you.
You
dipped into it a little bit with the black cladding, but what really does make, so we talked about the percentage, the 51%, what else makes an Indigenous business an Indigenous business?
Yeah, so I suppose we can get into, like, how does someone say that they're Indigenous? What makes an Indigenous person? If I've seen news articles coming in where I can't remember the specifics, but it was someone claiming they couldn't get extradited for a legal matter because they claimed some Indigenous perspective. From a legal perspective, to go down this track, it's really, you have to identify as, have heritage in, and be accepted by.
Okay.
So identify as being an Aboriginal, Indigenous person, have heritage in, there's somewhere along your heritage, and I'll put to bed the myth of, and people often ask, what are you, a quarter, an eighth, a 16th? It's not important. Okay. It's more about, do you affiliate and associate with being an Indigenous person? Okay. And it's a really, really open and great society, great group of people. It's something that you can feel really a part of, and the connection to country is something that I love and is always celebrated. If you go to a really good welcome to country, it's quite
powerful.
It is very much so. And then you get to be accepted by, I think it gets down to now, it's more the Aboriginal, I believe it's the Aboriginal Land Councils, which it is effectively a confirmation of Aboriginality certificate that you can get.
What do you need to do to what do you need to prove
You would have to prove that heritage that was there.
Okay.
You would have to prove that you have an affiliation with the mob you're from, where you, the connection, all of those sort of things. So if you've got all of that there, then yeah, they will. It's generally accepted.
Okay, fantastic. So Dustin, what if there is a person or organisation that would want to partner with Gadali? How are they going to get in touch with you, and where's best to go?
Yeah, sure. So our website's probably the best place to start. Go to gadaligroup.com. There is a information page where and contact us that you can jump onto there. Particularly if you're an organisation that wants to partner with us, I'd love to hear from you. We are very much trying to build out the Indigenous environment from an IT perspective. As I said, it's quite a small industry. We know most of each other that's out there. I'm trying to we're not really stepping on each other's toes. We're all trying to help each other. We think going forward as a group is a much better way to achieve this. And there are some other great groups out there. More than happy to, if someone is interested in a career in technology, particularly if you are First Nations, please, same thing, go to the webpage, go to the contact us. I'll get the email and get back to you ASAP. It'd be really good to try and engage with anyone that's got that. Any questions at all about it, I'm more than happy to answer. I'd love to dispel any myths from an IT perspective, the Indigenous side, and how I think we're probably the better people for the job out there at the moment, of where we exist from an AI, where that whole technology front is at.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you, Dustin. It's been really interesting talking to you today. Really interesting to see where you have come from and your journey forward, some of the challenges that you've been facing too. And I mean, we're very privileged to partner with you. And I really hope that you'll get some companies come off the back of this that will come flooding in. So
thanks, Laura.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
that debate.
Thanks, everybody. We look forward to joining you again next time.